You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Dr. Winnie, go ahead. I can hear you.
Dr. Winnie, your sound is muted. Please, do you want to put on your sound, please?
I'm sorry about that. I had muted my sound and didn't realize I didn't have it on. Welcome, viewers. Welcome, Ambazonians. Welcome, whosoever in the global world. I just want to welcome you to our show, Team Ambazonia. Myself, I am Dr. Winnie Lobadi, and I am here today. We're going to be having a talk show. Myself and Dr. Patience Abiedo. We are women that have been involved in Team Ambazonia for the last maybe, I think, about 2 or 3 years. And so we are going to be talking today about the role of women in peace processes and peace building. So I will let her introduce herself. She's no stranger to ABC Amber TV, but I will let her introduce herself on this platform. My Patience, go ahead.
Thank you, Ma Winnie. Is my sound okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to extend greetings to everyone watching me today, not on the horizon, but on the Team Ambazonia platform. And it's a pleasure to be here with you. And I extend greetings to everyone watching from home front, from ground one, from all over the diaspora. I hope this 1 hour that we have together with you will be enlightening. And thanks to the technical team that has set this up for us. And I look forward to the conversation. Thank you, Mawini.
Thank you, my Patience. Thank you for bringing us back. Today we're just gonna have a conversation. Just think about it as a conversation about women and for women and for every Ambazonia who has a mother, who has a sister, who has a grandmother, an aunt, basically every one of us. But this conversation is really gonna narrow about women and how we are involved in processes that leads to peace building, negotiation, and our role in that as women, as mothers, as sisters, as grandmothers. So listening, tuning, you're going to hear a lot that you were not even aware of. And that might help you to now get other um, women and get them to say, I think you want to be involved in this. This is not a guy thing, it's for everyone. So we're going to just sit and chat and have a conversation, and we're going to talk, and my patients and myself, and so we'll go. So my patients, it's really not going to be me asking you a question. You could ask me a question. I could ask you a question just to help our viewers know where we are heading. But our key point we're going to be really focused on is a resolution from the United Nations that is was done in 2000. It's called Resolution 1325. So we're going to start there. And maybe in the future, we might go to other resolutions that the UN had put on regarding women and equality, which will be like the Beijing Declaration as well. But for today, we want to stay really on the resolution 1325. So, my patient, what is this all about? What is resolution 1325? Help us.
Thank
Help
you,
us out.
Mawini. Yeah. Yeah. So before I answer that, I just want to get a clarification out because I think there may be some questions as far as the flyer that is going on, with people wondering that are we on the table yet? Are women already talking with someone yet? So no, not really, not the case. This dialogue here today with us, Mawini and myself, sharing something with you, has nothing to do with negotiations. It's solely, as she's explained, for us to talk about women and peace building process. So you asked me, Mawini, what is UN Resolution 1325? It's a resolution that was adopted in October of the year 2000, by the Security Council at its 4,213th meeting. On exact date was October 31st, 2000. The resolution was passed mainly as United Nations pledging to work on the disproportionate impact of war and conflict on women and girls, and pledging to involve women and girls in the peace and resolution processes after war. So, to read exactly what it says it affirms that peace and security efforts are more sustainable when women and are equal partners in the prevention of violent conflicts, the delivery of relief and recovery efforts, and in forging of lasting peace. And also, it has four pillars, which Mawini will talk about. It has four pillars, which is participation, prevention, protection, relief, and recovery. So basically, we Amazonians, we are in a conflict right now. So we need to discuss what we as women can do as far as this conflict is concerned. So, Ma'am Winnie, the four pillars of this resolution, maybe it's something we need to really expound on.
Okay. That would not be a bad idea. Um, when that resolution was passed, it had been based on many other maybe committees meetings that had happened, and that was just bringing together in its totality those things that really affected women and how they saw that it was really important for women to be involved in peace processes, in negotiations, especially in the 21st century. They wanted to make a turnaround in the corner and say we cannot enter the 21st century, and knowing that women really are the ones and children that are affected when conflict arises and guns and bullets and bombs or whatever are flowing. We women are the ones and our children that are being really affected the most. So My patients has talked about those four pillars, but let's just start with the first thing. What is the role? How do we get involved in the first place? I think that is why should women even be involved? We've just been trying to explain
Yes.
some of the role, but why?
Mawini, just way back, there was a time that women had no voice at all. Remember, it took several years for women in the United States to start voting. So even as far back as 2000, 1914, there were a lot of conflicts happening, and women felt that their voices had to be heard. In fact, based on that, you started having Women's International Day. And they realized that when they see women as a female, a gender, they think of them mostly as far as sexual violences on women, because when they're at war, the perpetrators use women as victims for various reasons, and but they didn't think that women were supposed to be equal to men in terms of uh, preventing conflicts in the first place and finding solutions to conflicts. And as time went on, these women, and you just mentioned that there were quite a few conferences. I think there were about four conferences, ending with the Beijing Declaration. There were four conferences starting from 1975. Uh, one, I think the first one happened in Mexico, and then the last one was the Beijing Declaration. And during this span of over 20 years, from 1975 to 2000, well, 25 years, they decided that, yeah, women should be really thought of in the same level as men in terms of preventing conflicts, in terms of finding solutions to conflicts, and not just thought as individuals who were victims of conflicts. So based on that, they came up with this resolution, which Mawini, if we have time, I think we don't really have time, but there's one day that we may have to really go through the resolution verbatim for people to really get the gist of what's all about.
Yes. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, my patients, because I think that was a good one to lead us in what the role of women now in preventing conflict. um there is, you can prevent conflict before it ever occurs, or you can prevent conflict after there is a resolution and it seems like the resolution is breaking down and conflict will re-emerge. So how, we've had some situations in even in Africa where women played a role in helping prevent further conflicts or even stopping it or even resolutions, and then in peace building. My patients, I think you know the one I'm talking about, and in West Africa. So you can, if you can espouse a little bit about how the women help in some corner in Africa to bring resolutions and
Okay,
prevention.
so there are two that I am aware of. I'm not sure if that's the one you're referring to. The South Sudan case in 1991, where women from South Sudan, mostly the Council of Church Women, they came together in 1999 and brought their voices together and made it clear that the people that were fighting, that's the Dinka and I never know how to pronounce this word, the Nahie people, that they were supposed to listen to one another, and they finally had an agreement in terms of, I think they call it the one lead peace conference. From that conference, they had an agreement where they were able to share in grazing in fishing agreement, grazing agreement, and water sharing agreement. Now, the other one that was very, very, I think it's very exciting in terms of women is the one that women in Liberia in 2000, year 2000, Liberian women, they formed a human barrier, and these were also unarmed Christians and Muslim women coming together. They formed an armed barrier at the presidency to insist that those who were there, mostly men, of course, sit down and have an agreement. And if they didn't have an agreement, they could not come out. And that was one of the important agreements that ended that more than a decade year of war in Liberia, and that was in 2003. And then of course we know about the Philippines in 2014, where the women were really on the table. We had women that were really on the table negotiating peace. Mawini, I don't know if those are the ones you're referring to, but you may also
Yeah,
add
the
to that.
Liberian one, the Liberian one in particular was the one I wanted us to delve in, but because it's so close to home for us, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if the women in La Republique went around and formed a show like the women in Liberia and tell their government, say, you better stop this thing, go to the peace-led process and and let us bring a solution to this. That would have been wonderful, but I don't think they have thought that they are empowered to do such a thing. So that's why we're here today, to understand that we as women, we are also empowered, not because God has just given us right, but finally the world has come around it to realize that God gave us right, and they will be willing to back us when we do things to ensure that peace is, and resolutions and peace building occurs. Okay, so we
Mawini,
have
you
talked
said
about,
something. Mawini,
yes.
referring to the women in La Republique, you know that they've had incidences where they all wear black clothes and they fall on the ground and they are crying when they are really, when we have cases of massacres in our land. But what you
Mm-hmm.
said, we've said that in the past. Not too long ago, I think it was last year, 2021, so many of them wrote to the United Nations. Those are all actions of peace building. But they missed the boat. The important thing for them to do is something that can really produce results, like what you just said. Can you imagine if all these women from La Republique were to go in front of the uh, palace, Bia's palace, Palais de Congrès, and just sit there, and just block the whole area in their blacks, if possible, show their breast, like Takubongs will do, and just sit there day in day out and say they want La Republique to pull its army away so that the war should, the killing of our people. No, we're talking about the humanitarian aspect of it. The killing of innocent people will stop. That will go a long way because it will bring international press, and La Republique may be forced, BM may be forced to listen. But they haven't done so because the people that are being killed are not their people. So it doesn't touch them, it doesn't come home. And that's the part that women play in peace building. If our own women in our 3 zones were able to do something like that, they will be massacred. So that's the difference. That's the power that those women have and our women do not have. And it all plays in this talk we are talking about peace building, security, women, agenda, the gender.
Thank you, my patience. It's really a sad situation. I remember after the Kumba massacre in the school, how the women went to the DO's office to talk. Um, they were not received well. They were kind of almost like bullied and asking them, so who are the ones who kill your children? Who are the ones who kill your children? Instead of admitting that they had set that up to label the people of Amazonia terrorists, and it was not working. And they all answer, we don't know, we don't know. And how about, you remember our sister who said to Paul
Objection.
Giatanga, objection. How many bold women are like, do we have like that? I'm sure we do have some, and I'm not sure we have many. But guess what? We are here to educate you that you are empowered. Yes, unfortunately, sometimes when you have a government that cares very little for human lives, then they may not value your right and your life. So they will just move on, or they may pretend. Um, my patients, I think even just talking about women, there are other people in the or civil society that are also part of peace building. But we want to stay focused on women. So they were talking about conflict resolution. We just mentioned the women in Liberia. We mentioned the women in South Sudan. Now, what can we as Amazonian women really do now to help us be part of conflict resolution and part of peace building? Given that we have a resolution that has empowered us as women to be part of this process.
Okay, so Mawini, to answer that question, you just have to look at the four pillars of the resolution. The four pillars of the resolution has three P's and an R, and an R. So it says participation. Participation
Mhm.
calls for increased participation of women at all levels of decision making. So let's talk about that. Participation at all levels of decision making. We have this interim government right now. We have people that are in the government, in the federal level, and in the local government area. We have women in the home front that are basically helping our sons and daughters to provide for them nourishment because they need food, and protecting them. We have women that are providing healthcare needs for them in hospitals or clinics or even at home. Um, you have women that are taking care of the loved ones of this our restoration forces. You have women that are financially vested in terms of putting their financial resources into the struggle. You have women that are activists, going out there talking day in, day out about what is going on in this struggle, reaching out to the international organization. That is participation. So we as women, look down in yourself. Wherever you are, there's a part for you to play. Then you talk about protection as the other pillar, calls for specifically for protection of women and girls from sexual and gender-based violence, including
Violence.
emergency and humanitarian situation such as in refugee camps. So let's talk about refugee camps. Some of us are women in those camps. How are we protecting the young ones, the young girls that may be victims? Are we educating them? Are we being their security blanket in one way or the other? Um, how are we protecting ourselves from the military that are invading our areas? Are we making ourselves very exposed that they may take advantage of us? Are we using our common sense to stay clear of imminent danger? Because whenever you see loose La Republic military people around and you are a young girl, uh, they do not respect you. They don't respect our women. They may take advantage of you. Do you protect yourself from such environments by not being available? Prevention, the four pillars of the resolution. Prevention calls, and I've probably already mentioned some of the prevention right there, calls for improving intervention strategies in prevention of violence against women, including prosecuting those responsible for violations of international law, strengthening women's rights under national law, and supporting local women's peace initiatives and conflict resolution processes. Now we have women that are our local women that, sometimes their voices may not be heard because they look down on them, but they should be empowered to have that conversation with somebody else, with their churches, if something is going awry, if their children are being harmed, killed, they should be empowered to be able to tell other people what is going on. They should feel that they belong, that they have the right to live, that they have the right for happiness. And only then can their voices be heard. And then we talk about relief and recovery as the other pillar. What are we women doing for relief and recovery? We already mentioned some of our sisters and mothers helping in hospitals, helping those who cannot even go to hospitals, and those of us who are sending aid to them. Are we committed in doing things like that? So, Mawini, those are some of the examples.
My patients, there are really obviously things that common sense would even tell us in our local community, with or without conflict, that we need to protect girls, we need to protect women, we need to watch and make sure our environment is safe for women and children as well, and young girls, from being victims for sexual violence. But there is something else that really catches my attention about this resolution. It was the involvement of women in the negotiation process, that you could not leave them out. And I remember when we had a training where, I think it was, I don't know if it was South Sudan or North Sudan, or, that part of their negotiation was that women were allocated in their negotiation. Women were allocated a certain percentage of leadership position within the government, to ensure that their voices and their place was secured, and women's issues and their rights were protected. It was given a certain percentage, something like 35%, if I remember. If you remember that training we had.
Mhm.
So how then do we really, how then do women come in to be part of of being on the negotiation table? I also remember when we had the one of our September 22nd event, where we invited a lady from involved with Colombia.
Mhm.
And she was saying she was the only lady sitting in the room, and she felt that was all she knew. But little did she realize that that was her place, and she was there running, giving people coffee and all whatnot. Where is this idea of thinking that women are only there to bring your coffee, clean your place, and say yes I and do this, what do you want, and bring? How? There is a change, there is a shift. How then do we get women inserted in the process, so that from get go day one we have women there?
Well, it depends on the men that are with the women, right? It depends on the men. So, in our situation, President Sako has done a fantastic job in getting women in the government, in the federal level. And I think, to answer your question, the leaders of all the different counties and LGAs know the women that are working with them so far. And unfortunately, if you look at the number of people that are in our struggle, it's just a very tiny percentage. Meaning that for a one Mawini that is there here, there's 10 Mawinis out there that are not involved in the struggle, that may be as knowledgeable as Mawini, that have something to give as Mawini, but they are not in our struggle. There are 10 Ma Patiences out there, 10 Ma Rachel out there, but we are what we are. So I think we continue to push the button for people to realize that the truth is on our side, because of the way that we were poorly decolonized. The truth is that we belong to Southern Cameroons. We need to have our own country, and eventually we'll have our own country. So I don't know whether all these other women that have the expertise, that have the training, that have the education, will suddenly see that, oh, this is the right place to be. I may be able to help in one way or the other. That would be a good thing. That would be welcoming. But for those of us who are here right now to answer that question, um, you just have to be willing, and the president has to make the provisions for you to be there. When we talk about negotiation, Mawini, we know that those who are experts, who know what negotiations are about. Dr. Elliot has already been on the show the first 2 weeks ago with Dr. Mungwa, and they address these issues. There are people that have been trained for this, and there are people that have not been trained, but they are willing to learn and come with other expertise. So there are teams out there that women may find themselves in a team that has to do with history of our struggle. They may find themselves in a team that has to do with um, medical aspects, or they may find themselves in a team that has to do with engineering or resources or humanitarian needs. So it's a broad base right there. There are many places women can find themselves. And even on the ground, civil societies you mentioned, there are women that know the fabrics of our neighborhoods, what people need, what they want. You know, that is so important. And you go deep into their souls, and they will be able to speak one way or the other. Maybe that mommy in the village will talk to somebody else who say, I know my mothers, this is what they can stand for. We just need roads, we just need XYZ. So there is a place for a woman at every level of this process. There is a place for a woman. There is a place of one or two women or three women. Or how many possibilities there are places for women as far as negotiation is concerned.
Wow. Thank you, my patience. Hey, women, there's no woman left behind. That's what we're gonna see. No woman left behind in the negotiation process. Women, we are coming with our own voices. We have our unique needs, we have our unique challenges, and we have our uniqueness, even in the way we sometimes would reason and would want to make sure that things go right. So we're not going to let our voices be pushed to the side. We're not going to be kept behind. So I'm saying no woman left behind. No woman left behind in the process of peace building, peace processes, and negotiation. So we'll come. So come along. We honestly, we have Amazonian women out there, like you said, who have just almost like removed themselves, or they may even be walking quietly. Please, the time is now. The appeal is going. Join your LGAs to help, because they will identify those that have the expertise to have women in technical teams. If you don't do it, what would you think? Think about telling your grandkids 20 years down the line, I refuse to offer my services to save more lives and to make sure that the impact of this negotiation is favorable to women and girls and children, because I refuse to be part of it. Because believe it or not long from now, after we get back home and we are in Boya, and they are reading the history in classrooms and talking about things, some of your grandkids, you may think you may stay in diaspora forever. They'll ask, grandma, tell me more about this. Were you there? Was your name in this book, in this history book? What happened? Why were you not? What happened? Tell me more. But if you've removed yourself out of this whole process, then you will not be able to give that information to even your grandkids with a clear conscience. So we are appealing to you, women. Don't think it's only a thing for guys. If women are also part of the entire process and will be. So my patients, let's move to the next and the other pillars. We've talked about protection, prevention, and basically involvement in the resolution process. There is more. So what more can we do besides being in the we have appealed for people to join their LGAs? also know that they will be in the technical team. To be in that technical team, technically, we have to know that you are there and you have this expertise. So tell those who have the expertise. And we don't only mean expertise in head knowledge, but we also mean expertise in, you may have what they call emotional quotient, which means you're good with people. You know what they need and what they have. So tell us more.
Yeah, so Mawini, before I go there, you had mentioned something about women in the past, what women have been known to do. Just to recount that 9% of negotiators, there are only 9% of women negotiators in peace processes. Only 9% are women. And then also that 4%, only 4% of women are found in as total personnel in peace operations. 4% only. And then only 4% of women are signatories on peace agreements. So that tells you that there's a lot to unfold based on this resolution. It was a long way getting there. It's a great resolution, but more still has to be done because there are many conflicts that have happened aside of what we are experiencing, that women are still complaining that their voices are not being heard. Although it's believed that there's more sustainable peace, more lasting peace when women are involved. Now back to what you asking, my winning about these technical teams and everything else. We know ourselves, right? We as Ambazonian women, Southern Cameroonian women, we know ourselves. We know our alma mater. We know where we came from school, from our different colleges and universities. We know that there are some women out there that are very knowledgeable in one subject or the other that we can reach out to. So we need to keep the communication line open. We don't necessarily have to just say, because X has never participated in the in the struggle, in our quest, that they are counted out. People come in and go out at different times in the struggle. I may be here today, and for whatever reason, I may not be here tomorrow, although still supportive of the struggle, and somebody else may be here. Does it mean that the input that I've given in the past do not count? No, we are on a journey. We are on a journey, and different people come in and different people go out on that journey. Think far back how this struggle really started in 2000, really in 1961. Right after we got recolonized, the struggle started because we realized that we had been put in a very bad position, and our forefathers already started fighting back then. So on this journey from then till now, there are quite a few women that have given their lives, that have given their they have given their education. They've taught us, to be who we are. And then coming to where we are right now, there are some women out there that are still sitting on the fence that we can easily pull in to be part of the process. But for those of us who are really in the government right now, we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, and we pull our resources together to do what is good for the struggle. Now, quickly, I just remembered briefly that when we had some of the training, Mawini, I had something written down somewhere, but I just misplaced it, where they were talking about different factors of negotiation, where you have the mediator, you have Ambazonia on one side, you have HD, you have Swiss Peace, and you have civil society. So everybody has their own part to play. Now, the problem is that we don't want to be in a position where we know what we want and we get taken for a ride by those who believe in peace, but not permanent peace, because everybody wants peace. Everybody wants peace. But the peace that La Republic women have, those women that signed some letter a long time ago and sent to the United Nations, the peace that they're looking for is peace within the context of one Cameroon. So us women that are part of this struggle, are we dedicated to stay on our journey and be focused and not give up? Because it's easy to give up. There are times that we think about our children that have been killed, our properties destroyed, and it looks like there's no hope for the future. And you say, what is it? What am I fighting for? Should I just give up and have peace within one Cameroon? But the irony is that there can never be peace within one Cameroon. There can never be peace within one Cameroon, because the underlying will for every human being is to be able to live a life where you pursue happiness. And if you cannot be happy in a country that is one Cameroon because you are a second-class citizen, then you can never be at peace. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but I think that we need to just stay focused and know the people that are surrounding us, and know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and know that when it comes to that table, not everybody will be on the table. Not everybody that you see on television may be on the table. I know for a fact that I will not be on the table. So let me just get it clear for those who are saying, what is she talking about? I know for a fact that I will not be on the table because I don't have the credentials to be on the table. But I know that I will continue doing some work on the background to make it easier for those who are on the table. That's what you should be want. What are you willing to do as a woman to be on that table? What expertise do you have? Are you there for yourself for power, or are you there because you want to take care of the people of Ambazonia that are suffering for more than 61 years? Because we've been suffering for 61 years since our independence, although it just got heightened the past 4 or 5 years. Mawini, over to you.
Yes, thank you. I don't know how many more minutes we have, so we don't overstep our time. But there's
Yeah.
something else. In one of our trainings that we were getting, I remember that they were talking about Somaliland in particular, where there was the core of those who were to deal with, if you want to know, Somaliland and Somalia. Those were two nations. They have some similar path, like what we have. We have in with La Republique, but Somaliland got its independence, but chose by themselves. Were not forced, chose willingly, I think after 12 days or so, to go and form a union with Somalia, which never really materialized. And they also have been struggling, so because they were very, very marginalized. But with all that having happened, what we saw is as they were building their team to negotiate, they also had this thing that they called the Baroma Conference, where there were concentric circles. And then they kept adding and building. We are here trying to make sure to know that we're going to keep building our our circle to involve more people as are needed, both by the international standards. So I would want to say, my patients, say something, and then I know our time is running out, so we can invite people. This is not the end of our conversation about women. We will talk some
Yeah.
more in the future. Yes, my patients.
Yes. So, Mawini, about that Baruma conference, wouldn't it be a great thing if all Ambazonian women, from wherever you are, if you believe in the fact that Southern Cameroon is a state, is a country that has its boundaries, that has a government, that has a flag, that has its people, that has an anthem. We sing that anthem all the time, so you must believe that it's a country, right? If you believe in all that, wouldn't it be great for all women to have to convene one day in a similar conference like the Baroma conference, and just talk as women to pave the way for permanent peace. Because only in such a conference can you bring women that come from all walks of life with different backgrounds and different gifts. You know, we do things based on the gifts that God gave us, you know, different backgrounds, different gifts, and put it on the table and say, this is it. We must do A, B, C to hasten this process to Boya. Women can do it. I mean, women have been very instrumental in bringing peace in different conflicts. And why should it be different from Amazonian women? We can do it, but we take baby steps. Before you get a big conference like that, you have little conferences. And those are things that we need to work on and be willing to, you know, appreciate others who believe in the same thing like you are. We are not talking about a conference where you have federalists, unionists, which I think was something similar when they had this coalition for dialogue and negotiation. That is not the type of conference we are talking about. It will be a women's conference that has women that are all for our recognition of our independence, so that the international community understands that these women understand that for there to be permanent, lasting peace in the Gulf of Guinea, this country called Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia has to be recognized internationally. And let's work on that. That would be something good to do. And this is all with the same line that we're talking about peace processes, what women do to bring peace. And Marwini, you may want to add to that, but I think that's all I have to say on that topic. Are you there?
Just whet your appetite a little bit about how women are going to be involved and the things that are needed. But we just talked about all what this rule really, or this resolution, was about, and what they intended and how they wanted women to be part of the processes. In the future, we are still going to talk about how women are and should be involved and their role in the peace processes and peace building, conflict resolution, how they should be involved. In the future, we will come with some more and even bring some other experts who have been in this ahead of us by experience, or by they being on the table, or by they even just being part of the technical teams that provided the information for the negotiator. So we will be coming up so much. But I want to thank everyone for taking this time to join us for this hour and be part. In the future, we will take questions. But for today, due to our time constraint, we have just this 1 hour. I want to say thank you, Ambazonians. Thank you, everyone. My patients and myself, we are part of Team Ambazonia Act. That's why we were able to sit here and talk to you and appeal to other women to join. So bye-bye for now. In 2 weeks, there will be another Team Ambazonian show on ABC again. So don't forget. And on the 14th of July, there will be a town hall meeting again, where Team Ambazonia really tells you what we're doing and where we're heading and how we are. So please don't miss that. I am also just giving that announcement here right now. Thank you. And thanks everyone for watching. And bye-bye. See you next time.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.